Welcome, welcome, welcome to our Tuesday morning chit chats with yours truly. Today I'm talking about letting go as it pertains. He's really excited about today's topic. Could you please make sure that he doesn't come in here? Every time. He's silent until I want to start talking. He's really excited about today's topic because he has watched me go through this process and is like, hey y'all, listen up because it works and it's legit. So, letting go as it pertains to past traumas and griefs and challenges. And there's this like popular notion and thing that we're told to do, right? Just let it go, let it go, let it go. And I feel like the intentions behind that are positive and helpful, and letting go can be incredibly beneficial when it's done intentionally and with the right motives. So I'm going to talk about that. But at the end of the day, I truly feel that letting go is a fool's game. It is a fool's game because it's not possible. And it's not the healthiest and most resourceful way of working with our challenges and our past traumas and our grief. So think of all the times that you've been told to let it go or just let go. Right? We've heard it a lot. It's kind of a popular thing to say and to tell people. And think about all the times that you have fought with yourself because you wanted to let it go, right? So think of all the times you've been told to let something go. Think of all the times that you have fought with yourself, like, oh, if I could just let this go. And think of the times that you've actually successfully let it go. Yeah, and like drop comments if you have any answers for that or any experiences with that. Letting go is overused. It is underexplained. It is kind of a dangerous walk that can just end up making us feel shameful, lost, overwhelmed, and like there's something wrong with us because it's not really possible, right? But everyone's doing it. Why can't you do it? What's wrong with you? Everyone else can do it. Why can't you just let it go, right? So it makes us feel like there's something wrong with us, which just further compounds the stress and the kind of after effects of the trauma that we're already dealing with, right? So it's just like this negative downward spiral. The truth is, we simply cannot let go of things that have happened to us. We can't let go of our past experiences because they're now a part of us. They are literally embedded into our being. They are the threads that are weaving the fabric of our lives and of our being on every single level, physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. These subtle inputs and these subtle leftover residual effects of these things live inside of us and around us and dictate our entire experience. So we can't just let them go when they're here, it's part of us, yay. What we can do is change our relationship with these lingering impacts and these experiences. And we can change our orientation and our perspective. And we can transmute the lingering impacts that we're trying to let go of into workable gifts that will inevitably lead us to our sacred purpose. Hey, Jen. Hey, Den. I got Jen and Den. I love it. Thank you for being here. So we can transmute the way that it looks. We can change our relationship to them. And ultimately, it's through these things, not letting go, but embracing them, that reveals our gifts and leads us to our sacred purpose. So that is like so important to remember that. So how has it hurt you feel when you have been told to let it go? I want some comments. I want some interaction if you're here. Or if you're catching the replay, hashtag replay. I'll get my, I always feel like I'm doing a gang sign. Hashtag replay. So how has it made you feel when you've been told to let it go? I know for me, personally, 3 things come up. I feel angry, I feel frustrated, and I feel ashamed. I feel angry because it feels impossible. I feel frustrated because I don't like to not be able to do something. That's just kind of my personality. And I feel ashamed because clearly my display of emotion and my current state and my displeasure has led me to commit like a social faux pas and made someone else feel uncomfortable. And in our society, it's kind of frowned upon to have these strong emotions and to be in a state of displeasure, right? And it holds a mirror up to somebody else who may also be feeling that way, but they're like, ooh, it's not safe to express this. So it's, again, these negative things, and we're retraining and becoming kind of the change that we want to see in the world. I love that quote so much, and it's so true. So as it pertains to our past traumas and our griefs and our challenges, letting go is like a plea to simply disengage and dissociate with a part of ourselves. Like to just throw it away and release it entirely. And you can no easily do that with an unseen thing than you can let go of like your nose or your pinky. They are part of you. These pieces are part of you. So the frustration comes from trying to do something that is simply impossible. Yeah. There's really only one thing that we can do with these impacts. And when we feel and realize that the way that it currently is set up, hi Lauren, the way that it's currently set up and the way that it is impacting our lives is not working. It's not what we want. There's only one thing left to do, and letting it go, like in a bypassy kind of way, in a disengage, dissociate, numb out kind of way, is not the way. That is not the way. That will breed even more dis-ease and resistance. There's only one thing to do. Are you ready? It's not pretty, and it's not fun all the time, and it's not the simplest thing, and it's not the sexiest thing. It's not like, ooh, let me just wave a magic wand and like align my chakras. Like, those are very, very helpful things. And you must choose the path of the authentic, loving warrior or warrioress. Hey, Andrea. So there's only one thing left to do. Are you like on the edge of your seat? Like, damn it, Devon, just tell me. You must transmute it. Yes. Work with it and transmute it. And the definition of transmute, which has received a lot of attention and popularity in the kind of current new agey atmosphere, is this. This is the definition. It is to change in form, nature, or substance. To change in form, nature, or substance. Transform, yes, is a synonym. However, I don't think it captures the true essence of what I'm trying to really get at here. Transform is more like to change from the outside in. So it still kind of stays on that like surface level. You're allowing the thing to still exist in the way that you are used to it, and you're just like making the conditions more hospitable. So you're like transforming from the outside in. Whereas transmute is completely changing, completely rearranging, and creating anew. You're shifting all of these subtle pieces and creating a new gross experience. And you always hear me say the subtle creates the gross. It does, and this is no different. Transmutation on a personal alchemy, digging in and being your own sexy self-healer, is that. You are literally recreating the subtle into a new gross experience, creating it how you want it. So using these past hurts, these past challenges, these traumas, these pain points that we all have. We're all human. And we resist these things so much, and we don't want anyone to know. Like, ooh, I'm actually kind of wounded. I'm a little up. It's like, hey, me too. Thank God. Thank you. Thank you for saying that and for helping me to not feel alone. Like, why we are so ashamed of this and so keep it under wraps. And so then we get caught up in this let go game where we are actually suppressing a side of us, a very important side of us that has so much medicine and that holds so much power and holds our gifts and our purpose and all of these beautiful things for our lives. And we just get caught up in this resistance game. We're like, ooh, it's undesirable and it's ugly and I need to let it go. And I've probably been told so many times I'm just so sensitive and just let it go already and shut up. And no, that overwhelm, sucks so much energy and vital life force from your system. And so that stacked on top of whatever stress and physiological impacts the original traumatic or challenging or painful event happened, like you can see why so many of us are just in a world of hurt and suffering, just dis-ease on many levels, physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual levels of dis-ease, the absence of ease, and physical health challenges, and all of these things, because our energy is just going all over the place, fighting with ourselves. So, where was I? Oh, talking about the difference between transformation and transmutation. I just wanted to throw that in there because I love words. So, transformation allows us to shift the way something is done, thereby influencing it to still maintain the same end goal or the same method. Like I said, you kind of still get to have it exist the way you want it to, and the ego still gets to hold on, and it's still kind of safe. But transmuting is really getting in there and rearranging those subtle pieces. So it's not, I don't want to say it's not enough. I feel like we already struggle so much with like, what the hell? It's not enough. When is it going to be enough? But it's not going to create the change that you're looking for if we're always just fixated on the like surface level of the challenge. And so when we engage in this transmutation process versus this fight with myself, let go process, which is not possible. You can't let go. It's here. It's part of you. You're really shifting on all levels. So this challenge lives in the body, yes, and it also lives in the unseen parts of you, those subtle parts that are creating your gross experience. So the energetic imprint that it left, the emotional residue of unprocessed trauma and unprocessed emotions, the mental armors and stories and beliefs that it created. So when you can get in there and work with those things, that's where you see needs that aren't being met. You see desires that you actually have. You get to see, who am I really without this bullshit, without the layers of stuff that are preventing me from fully embodying my authentic essence because I'm in this kind of fight or flight survival way of living as a result of living with whatever stress or trauma, the residual impacts of that. And something else also, in case you're watching and you're like, well, trauma seems like such a harsh word and I haven't been through trauma, you know, that it's like, no, don't compare belly aches. I was on the phone with a client a couple of days ago and she was talking about something from her childhood and she's like, oh, but it wasn't a big deal. I was like kind of molested. And I'm like, okay, so we went into that some more. And her rationale kind of, it's not a big deal, was she said, other people have been through so much worse. And while that may be true, the worst that you have known is the worst that you have known. It's all relative, it's all subjective, and it's all part of you, and you're carrying it. It's in your space, it's in your system, it's in your body. So it's all relative. So when you hear a word like trauma or grief, and you're like, oh, does that mean? We all carry something. And it's not a matter, like I said, of comparing belly aches and, oh, I shouldn't feel that bad because I know someone who's been through way worse. That just leads to that another level of fighting with yourself. Because there's a part of you that's like, well, no, actually that hurt. And then there's the other side of you that's like, oh, shut up, so-and-so's had it worse. As you see, it's just like another layer of the fighting with yourself piece to just let it go. And that's another way it rears its ugly head, is when we get into the comparison trap. So the thing to do instead, like I said, is to transmute it. Get in there. You can run the other way, which is running, and is still using a shit ton of energy that can be used for so many other things, like healing. If you're experiencing physical body challenges, think about where a lot of that energy is going. If there's something that you were trying to let go of, or if there's something that you are ashamed of and something that you're carrying, think about the amount of energy that it is taking to do that game and that song and dance with yourself, when that could be going towards healing, that could be going towards expressing, putting your gifts out in the world, getting clear on what those gifts are. So it's a misuse of energy. We all have so much, and so it's like, where are we using it? So the transmutation process versus that release and let go, which, like I've said, and I'll say it again, is not possible. It's not sustainable. And it's a way of disrespecting yourself and dishonoring your path and your story. It is disengaging, and it's dissociating with pieces of yourself that you might not think are very pretty or desirable. Yeah. So transmuting is welcoming it all, looking at all the pieces that are here, looking at all the subtle inputs, getting radically transparent with yourself, radically honest about what's working, what's not working, how do I want to feel, how is this in the way that it looks right now serving me or causing me dis-ease. That's the way to do it. So you can continue the fight and the struggle of this let go, let it go, fighting with myself. There's something wrong with me. I can't just let it go. How come some people can let it go? I'm still told to let it go. Oh, like I need to take a deep breath just after thinking about that. Or you can engage in this multi-level healing transmutation process and rearrange those subtle pieces of yourself that are creating your gross experience. Everything in your three-dimensional experience, your physical body, your health, your surroundings, your relationships, your work, everything is a reflection of your inner workings. And that's not meant to be a disempowering, like, well, it's your fault. Like, look what you did. You should have done better. No, it is meant to be a, wow. Like, if I created all of this from this kind of cluttery, unintentional, more sleepwalking, kind of survival thinking, fear thinking space, like, holy crap, I am powerful. What can I create from a place of clarity and intentionality? Aisha, you're a preaching girlfriend. Thank you. I know, I'm kind of on one today. I'm passionate about this topic. Okay. So the things that have happened to you are yours now. I've made that abundantly clear, and I'll say it again. You can no more easily let go of the things that have happened to you in your life than you can your pinky or your ear or your toe. Like, it's here. It's part of you. And the power comes from reorienting the way that it is in your life, reorienting your relationship with it, changing those subtle pieces into something new and something different that does serve you. Because the medicine is in the challenge. It doesn't come from just like this magical let go thing that we can't even do. So again, trauma changes you on all levels, physiologically, emotionally, physically, mentally, energetically, and spiritually. You are not the same person anymore. You're not. And you never will be again. And that's beautiful, because the seasons change and the sun rises and sets and everything is in motion and everything is going. So once something happens, and again, like I said earlier, we're not comparing belly aches. We're not saying like, well, I don't know if that thing counted as trauma. If it was painful and it shook you and it made you question things, it made you question maybe the way that you view the world or your sense of safety or your orientation to the world or anything like that, it was traumatic to your system. So You've been through it. We're all humans. And I'm also not doing that thing I see so many people do where it's like, let's just focus on the bad, painful stuff. We're human. Like, we're here. There are challenges, and there are triumphs. And we need to embrace all of it. So once these things happen, and once the triumphs happen, you're never the same person again. So something happens, you are not the same person again on all levels. Your DNA changes in response to the shock and the stress. Your identity shifts. You now wear different masks or armors out of protection. You view the world differently. You have a new definition of self. You have a bunch of feelings and emotions that are new and different and that you may feel ill-equipped to handle. Yeah, so shit just got real, basically. And then you're just kind of like, okay, what do I do? And then that's when, well-meaning people, or even yourself in a well-meaning, will come in with the let it go. Just let it go. And so many of us bypass because we're uncomfortable, because we aren't shown how to be with ourselves. And I'm going to get to some tactics to use in a moment, so hang on with me. And it's also socially unacceptable. So it's got like all these things working against us. And it is such a passion of mine to get us to rethink grief and pain and trauma differently, not as something to bypass and to get rid of, like get past that so we can get back to the good stuff really quickly, but to work with it and to integrate it into ourselves in a loving, open way. So it's not causing the resistance and the dis-ease. So number one, there's nothing wrong with you. Like, first and foremost, nothing wrong with you at all. I've had so many clients plead to me, and I've pled to myself, like, why can't I just let this go? Life would be so much easier if I could just let it go. And then there's like shame, and there's like a scarlet letter that we put on ourselves because it's like, I'm wounded and broken and I can't let it go. And that makes us succumb to victim mode and shame and anxiety and guilt and fear and internal conflict and turmoil. And it takes us away from the present moment because we're just thinking about how wrong we are, and it's disempowering, and all that whole song and dance that we touched on. So it's not the actual traumatic event or the grief or the residual impacts of the event that create the dis-ease that we experience. So I'll say that again because that's really important. It's not the event. It is not the residual trauma. It is not the changes or how life is different that create the suffering or the dis-ease. It's the resistance to this new wounded part of us, that resistance to flowing with that, to accepting and embracing that part. It's the resistance that creates the dis-ease, because anything that we resist amplifies and takes on a whole life of its own. I'm sure you've experienced this. Can I get like a yes? I have resisted things and they have amplified, and it can be something as simple as like even like financial stuff. Yeah, like, oh, I'll get to that thing later, and then it piles up. Anything we resist amplifies, and this is no different. And I don't care if you are a carpenter or a lawyer or an accountant or a shaman or an intuitive coach or a vet or whatever you are. Your purpose and your gifts and the way that you are meant to be of service in the world is through your challenges. The pathway of true ease. Yes, everyone's been there, right? So resistance gets us nowhere, and it's so tied into the let go piece because we're resisting that part of us. Yeah, so we've experienced this. So the pathway to true ease and true nourishment and a life that feels blissful and fluid, and not blissful in that bypass way where it's like, let go of the crap so we can get to the good stuff, but just a fluid, open hand way. And I love that metaphor and that visual, an open-handed life. And what I mean by that is there's like the clingy, grippy, like, oh no, I don't want to change. I don't want to be open to integrating this new broken piece of myself. I just want to let it go, and like, I want to go back to the way things were. I'm going to resist this new thing. That's a very like grippy, not very fluid way of living. That's a closed hand life. So this kind of being water, being a river, and just kind of letting it all flow, letting it all be. The way to that kind of blissful life, that's the one I'm talking about, is through your challenges. And the way to actualizing those gifts and that sacred purpose is through getting down in there. Like, get down on it in that transmutation process. Period. Sometimes I wish it weren't so. And I've tried all kinds of different ways. I've tried the numbing out techniques. I've seen the bottom of many a bottle. That doesn't work. I have stuffed my face full of all kinds of food-like substances. That didn't work. Yeah, this is, I've tried everything. This is the way. This is the way to what is it? To stay woke, all right? To be open and have that open-handed life. And so some tactics to use, I promised some tactics. The 7 pieces of true healing. And if you've been in my group for a while, that was last month. I presented this kind of distilled lesson, 7-piece lesson of the 7 pieces. I did a lesson for each of those. So there's over 7 hours of like amazing stuff in this group. You can go back, each piece has its own video lesson. And it's kind of like my life's work and all these different modalities of holistic healing and philosophies kind of together to serve you. And so by incorporating these 7 pieces of true healing, that's like your sacred framework for this inner alchemical transmutation process of integrating all pieces of yourself and integrating the challenge and the trauma and the wound and turning it into medicine for yourself and for the world. And like I said, I don't care if you're an accountant or a shaman or anywhere in between. We all are here to serve in our own unique capacity and in our own unique voice and flavor. And the way to find that is Bueller, through the challenges. Very good. All right, so get on those 7 pieces of true healing. They're on the wall. They still exist here. They're beautiful. That's your sacred framework. That's the way to this process. Another tactic is to, yes, and I'm sure you've heard it before, look at childhood events. So typically things that cause us a lot of pain today, those types of things that when we're triggered and perhaps our reaction doesn't match the situation. Anyone know what I'm talking about? It's like maybe you cry over spilled milk, something that's like seemingly simple and benign, and you just are so triggered and go off. Those triggers are such sacred messengers and typically have their roots in earlier childhood instances. So think back to a time when you are feeling those triggers. Think back to a time when obviously the circumstance, the situation is going to be different, but the feeling level, that feeling is going to be the same. So sitting with yourself, stabilizing, catching the trigger, and sitting with yourself and thinking back to what is this reminiscent of? When have I felt this feeling? And begin to work from there. That's you beginning to recreate and shift those subtle pieces to influence the gross outcome of your life. Another one, I got 3 more. Sourcing from the body, and we did a beautiful exercise with this in the first piece of True Healing, the first video, because it's all about embodiment. That's the first piece. But sourcing from the body and using expressive arts and embodiment practices. I love those. They can help you to really stay connected to the body and to learn from its wisdom during times of big emotions and times of transition. Everything that has happened to you lives in your space. It lives in your physical body. any type of change creates a physiological response. It doesn't just have to be the challenging ones. Times of big joy, you know, anxiety and excitement are like the same emotion. And we typically think of anxiety as like in response to something scary or more challenging. And excitement is like, I'm getting married. Anxiety is like, I just got fired. But to the body, the response is really, and the cascade of hormones and the specific ones that are secreted, it's the same. So everything that has happened lives in the physical body. So your body stores it. So sourcing from the body and using embodiment practices in conjunction with expressive arts to tap into the emotional body, beautiful stuff. And you're harvesting so much wisdom and getting so clear on the needs of this challenge and on the gifts that live in the challenge, right? All this beautiful stuff that we would miss out on if we are so caught up in this fool's game of letting go. Like, there's freaking solid gold in these challenges. Do not bypass them. 2 more little tactics to use. Giving yourself permission. Yeah, that's a big one. And I've studied so many of these like behavior change theories and models, and one that I incorporated and created for my clients and in my work, I have that permission component because that was something that was missing. So give yourself permission to get clear and radically honest with yourself about what's not working, what you want, how you desire to feel, and any perceived obstacles. And again, that has to come from like engaging with the pain. So get in there. You are so safe and so loved, and it is safe to get in there and to be with it. And give yourself permission to release the false identity of yourself that you've adopted as a way of coping. Yeah. And lastly, love on your nervous system, and then love on it some more, and then love on it some more. Fear and survival-based operating takes a tremendous toll on the physical body. Tremendous toll. And you heard me talk about that earlier in the video when I was talking about the amount of energy it takes to resist pieces of ourselves, to resist flowing naturally, to resist the open-handed life and being water. It takes so much energy from the physical body. And physiologically, the nervous system in particular. And so many of my clients have some degree of adrenal insufficiency or hypothyroidism or hormonal challenges, because the nervous system is directly related to the endocrine system. Like, it's all the same things. And so when we're constantly pulling vital energy from the physical body as a way of coping or trying to fight with ourselves to let something go, it has to compensate, and it's going to prioritize, survival over like, oh, you don't need your thyroid functioning optimally, or like, you don't need your reproductive hormones to be nice and balanced because we have to live. We got to stay primed to fight. That's the subtle input that I am receiving. That's your body talking to you, by the way. That's the subtle input that I am receiving. So I'm going to keep pumping stress hormones out and like get ready to go. I'm jacked and ready. So loving on your nervous system and finding ways for you, because your ways of creating safety and stability might be different than mine. So finding those ways that really resonate with you to create safety and stability from within. And that creates a hospitable environment for your subtle pieces to begin rearranging. Because the body and your entire system need to feel safe. They need to feel like, okay, I can finally chill. I can let my hair down. I can be here. I can be with these things that I have fought and resisted for so long. And that's when you can begin to really get in there. And above all, in closing, stay passionate. I was going to say compassionate, but stay passionate. Totally passionate about life, about your desires, about creating the life that you want, about healing not just your stuff, because it's not just yours. It's kind of like the collective's trauma. It's ancestral. It's, stuff that was passed down to us cellularly and literally passed down to us on a nature and a nurture level, behaviorally, all of these different ways. So being very passionate about creating the type of world that you want to live in, and knowing that it really does start from within. When you decide to stand up and say, this shit ain't working. Like, it's not. This way of being is not working. I'm choosing something differently. That has such a profound, reverberation through the cosmos. It is that serious. I'm not just trying to sound all, new age and sexy and we're all connected. No, we are. It is that serious. When you decide to do that, it reverberates. It changes the whole quantum field. My husband and I were sitting the other day, because we're both just super nerd, and we were reading and studying all about quantum entanglement theory. And I was like, dude, this is the stuff I say all the time about trauma and the collective and ancestral things and healing. And some scientists put a label on it and are looking at the way that electrons behave when they're, so far apart from each other. I'm like, it's the same thing. Why is no one listening to me? I should be in a science journal. Maybe I will be one day. So, it is that serious. We're all connected. And you changing your own paradigm and your own status quo changes it for everybody else. Because clearly what we have right now ain't working too well. It's not. I mean, look around. We're not as physically healthy as we could be. The emotional and mental health situation, so much is clearly not working. So start it from within. And always remember that the subtle creates the gross from within you and everywhere else. So if we look at that theory, and me, that's my thing, the subtle creates the gross. It's the same thing for the collective. So you, a subtle of the entire collective body, you deciding to change that reverberates out and inspires and uplifts. And then you show up more authentically, more present. And it's beautiful stuff happens. So stay passionate, stay gentle with yourself, and share anything right now that you feel called to share before I close. And if something hits you later and you want to drop a comment. If you're watching the replay, drop something. I am so here and so passionate about this topic. And if you need help, if you aren't quite sure where to start or what to do, reach out to me. Take advantage of one of my complimentary sessions that I have each week, and we can discuss your needs. We can discuss some things. If I can't help you, I'll send you in the direction of somebody that can. This is our sacred little space. So engage with me, with each other. And if there are no questions or this hit me hard, smack in the face, but in the most loving way possible. I'm glad. I'm really glad. That just made my day. Thank you for sharing that. And I imagine that as things continue to digest kind of throughout the day, maybe you'll have some more kind of aha moments, or you'll want to come smack me in the face. One of the two. That damn Devon. Damn it, Devon. My brother's name is Damon. They didn't do that on purpose. They thought I was a boy. Not when I was born, but in the ultrasound. They had one ultrasound done, and back in the day they weren't as clear as they are now, and they thought they saw something that was clearly not there when I came out, and they were going to name me Evan, and they had seen Devon and were like, oh, that's a good girl's name. We'll save that if we have a girl. Well, here I was. And then they named my brother Damon. He's younger than me. And so all growing up, it was so funny when they'd get mad at us because it would be like, damn it, damn it, you too. So anyway, good times. Actually, today's July 10th would have been my mother's birthday if she were still here. So I imagine that her spirit was definitely coming through with this topic and all my passion today. So that was from both of us, me and Mama. All right, well, if there is nothing else, no more insights or experiences, I'll give you just a second more. I love talking with you and the engagement and the conversation. So please drop anything here, now, later, whenever feels right. Oh, it's your mother's birthday today. Happy birthday, Cancer mamas. Yep. You did, my baby girl. I've been like preaching for the last, I don't know how long. I need some water. 45 minutes. It was a great episode. Talking all about letting go. I was on one today. Okay. Well, I'm going to get off. My mom's birthday would have been this month. Huh, okay. We got July born mamas. Okay, baby loves. Have a beautiful rest of your day and let the insights continue to soak in. Share with me. And I will see you next week. I'll be here every Tuesday through July, and I'll probably keep this spot going. And yeah, all right. Love you. Thank you for being here.